Good evening, everybody. How are you? And welcome. I'm just going to start talking because I am recording this for uh, the YouTube channel. Of course, I'm doing this live on TikTok, but I'm going to sit for a few minutes and just talk for a couple of seconds while I give some people, like you, hello, good evening, an opportunity to show up and join in live. Tonight's going to be absolutely incredible, an incredible conversation. And today, as a matter of fact, is probably the most important day of the year to me. And just so you know, I am married and I do have three children. I have two sons, and one is 25, 6, and 3 years old. And as I just mentioned, today is one of the most important days of my life, the most important day, and it is nobody's birthday or anything like that. So, as I was just saying, I'm recording this for YouTube. You go live on TikTok 3 times a week, Monday nights and Thursday nights, 8 o'clock New York time. Probably be going to 9 o'clock pretty soon. And I go Sunday morning, 11 a.m. as well here. So today, my friends, is September 16th, 2016. So September 16th, 2021. And it's almost around 8 o'clock. I guess it's just a little after 8 o'clock now, just a few minutes after. And the reason today is the most important day of the year for me is 5 years ago, right here on my in my home on my property, I had the most amazing, unexplainable experience I've ever had, and I've done some research to see if this has been documented, witnessed by people before, and I have found no information on it. And it is one of those things that you can be hesitant to discuss with people because of another person's inability to perceive and believe another person's truth for whatever reason that is. But I'm going to tell you the story, and before I tell you the story, and then if you do stick around to the end, and if you're interested, we will do a meditation that is just going to blow your doors off. You don't even have to call it a meditation. We're going to take a moment in silence, and it's going to be one of the best things you've ever done in your life. I promise you. As I've mentioned before here on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and in my first book, and again in my second book, when I was a child, a very small child, I always had this sense of higher awareness. I always knew there was something going on behind the scenes. There was more to who we were than what we were being led to believe or taught. And I always kind of, regardless whether I deviated in life and made mistakes, always followed that higher awareness. And that is my awareness of today, just as my awareness today listens to my awareness of tomorrow and the future. And just as I connect with that awareness. So as a child, it was always very interesting to me because I always had a very slightly different, unique feeling and perspective than the people around me in my life. I always had thoughts, visions, hearing things that I interpreted. For the longest time, I just thought it was how everybody thought and felt, and it turned out it's not. And as from a very young age, from 3 years old and on, I would ask questions of how did I get here? What am I doing here? I don't understand why. What am I doing here? This doesn't make any sense. I was very confused about being here, and just again, there was just something more to it. Long story short, I went through my life and always followed that intuitive ability inside. Always had a very unique manifesting ability. I used to have a saying when I was younger. I always get what I want effortlessly. Even though as I've mentioned before, I've had a very bad life, horrible upbringing at home at times, and I've made stupid mistakes and bad things have happened to me. I've always had this ability to manifest my future very easily, whether that's good or bad. I mean, you do too, right? We're manifesting our reality by the choices we're making. But I would follow this intuitive knowing. And even though I knew I was making a mistake sometimes, I was willingly dancing, temptation, dancing in that side. So as I went through life, always having this intuitive knowing, again, this was something I realized it wasn't something we everybody always had. And I'm 53 now, and in the last 10 years, of my life, I changed my entire life. I got very sick for a while. Everything I did stupid in my life, food wise, diet wise, all that stuff, kind of caught up at me. And just over 10 years ago, I went from being 175 pounds to 230 pounds, and I was completely sick. I just couldn't barely walk up the stairs, and I was just dying. I went to the doctor, and my triglycerides were insane, and all these things. I took medication, nothing worked, and finally, I changed my own life. I just completely changed what I ate. I did the opposite of what every doctor told me to do, and I did the opposite of what I did my entire life, and it changed my life. And what happened is, in that process of purging out my body, changing my body, reconstructing my body, bringing clarity and nutrition and micronutrients and macronutrients to my body, and meditating and exercising and doing all these things, I woke up this aspect of my being, of my awareness, that we usually second guess and cast self doubt on. And this is about 10 years ago. And all of a sudden, everything just started to just change for me. Uh, Intuitive abilities, channeling abilities, connecting with higher awareness of people around me, spiritual beings and things started to happening. From 1996 is pretty much the earliest I can remember to the summer of 2016. This year, around this time of year, I had various different UFO experiences that I did a video on. 1996, the three silver spheres, and about 2010, the massive rectangular craft that was just silhouetted orange, and then in 2014, very close, one silver sphere, very close, right by, and 2016 is what I'm leading up to. So this entire time that all of these things are going on, my sister's husband commits suicide. About 2 years later, I'm sitting in my bedroom and I start freaking out, and I feel Peter's presence, and I'm really confused I'm looking at my wife and going, Peter's here, Peter's here. I don't understand why Peter is here. Peter, Peter, Peter. It was just very stressed. I woke up the next morning and found out that my sister had jumped out the same six-story window 2 years after Peter. And and so all of these things were happening, and I was asking inside, I was constantly asking, even though I always believed in a higher awareness, or I always believed in a superior being, and I always believed that there were other beings out there and interacting with us and things we can't see and perceive and believe, I never knew what was going on with me. Was this communication of the higher awareness? Is this some type of communication from a future version of myself doing these things, trying to guide me? Is it extraterrestrials? I kid you not. These are the things going through my head. Is it extraterrestrials trying to communicate me? Is it truly some divine being trying to communicate with me? And the biggest questions I have had in my life while I've been going through this whole spiritual journey since I'm a child has always been, is there truly an afterlife? And is there more to this life than that? So is there truly an afterlife? And what is communicating with me? What is connecting with me? And so anyway, long story short, I apologize. um, 2016 September, my son Sagan was just born. In 2015, my wife was in the bedroom feeding him. My mother was up visiting from New York, and she was sitting in the living room watching TV. And we had just gotten another dog, Walter, because a few months earlier my German Shepherd Kenobi had passed away. So I got another big boy. And so it was around, just a little around 8 o'clock, just around that time, just around this, little earlier than it is now. And as I mentioned, all of these insane things were happening. I was meditating. I could see my wife and sister sitting in another room. It was just completely black, and it was almost like a monochrome monitor on a computer. I could see the doorway. I could see through the doorway into the living room, them on the couch moving. I was doing travel inward and beyond and all these things. So I walked out onto the deck with Walter, and I had it was very dark. I had a little headlight, flashlight kind of thing, so I can see where I'm stepping and stuff like that. To be completely honest, I have dogs, and I gotta watch where I'm stepping and things like that. And there's also frogs and animals outside at night. And it's big. My property's not big; it's just under 2 acres, but the whole back area. I am in my cottage right now, so this is wooded, and this wooded area goes all the way around my backyard, and there's my house. So I'm holding on to Walter. I got this flashlight headlight on my head. I step out onto my deck, and I'm contemplating these things. I'm thinking about what's going on. I'm in my mind, and literally in my mind, I ask the question, is this me? Is it aliens? Is it some divine being? I step off the deck with Walter. I turn around. I come around my apple tree and I look out into the woods like this, and I just look around and I look up at the stars, and I'm looking at the stars, and you could see like the flashlight kind of just fades out, the headlight flashlight. I'm looking around, and I look straight up. I'm not going to look straight up because you'll just be staring at my chin. I look straight up in the sky, and I'm looking straight up, and I'm squinting my eyes all of a sudden because I'm like, is that a star? All of a sudden, as I'm looking at the star, I just see a very, very tiny faint dot. You know how when you look at the night sky, you can see the bright stars or planets, and then there's the very, very tiny faint ones. So I'm squinting my eyes, and all of a sudden, this star, hand to God, no lie, I swear to God, whoever ever sees this, I have no reason to lie to you. I don't want anything from you. I'm not selling you anything. My family is inside. I don't know what I can say to make you believe me. If I'm lying, may my head roll off my shoulders. All of that stuff. I cross my heart, hope to die. All of that stuff. I swear to you. I swear to you. I step off the deck. I'm doing this. I look. I'm like, is that a star? And all of a sudden, just the light of the star, like literally, like just burst over, and I can just see white and the blue and red as if somebody shined like just the brightest light in your face, and just all of the beams and everything just right over my head. I look down, my heart is like boom, boom, boom. I'm panicking. I grab Walter's leash, I pull him. I'm looking around in my backyard like this. I didn't look all the way behind me, but I look like this. I'm looking all the way around, and I really just had this feeling like that somebody or something, again, whatever that thing could be, was just going to run up and grab me and take me. And in that panic, so nothing, I didn't see anything. I look back up into the sky, and I look back up, and I'm looking where that dot was, and I could see the dot, I could see the little faint star, and I look right next to it, and I could see right next to it, its upper left. I know the camera's flipped from where we see it. Upper left, all of a sudden I see another faint star right there. And I'm like, there's another star right there. And boom, again, the light did this. I swear to you, I've said to 100 people who I've told the story to, that really in that moment, I should have just dropped to my knees. Not, knowing what to expect or what it was. I should have just dropped to my knees and just said that, and just like put my arms down, whether it was me, aliens, some divine being, whatever it is, all this stuff. But instead, because I was so freaked out, with everything I've experienced, literally silver spheres, all these things. I was so freaked out. I grabbed Walter, I pulled him, I went back into the house. I got in the house, I shut the door. I had like chills and goosebumps. My entire body was just like, blah. I looked at my mother. I was like, Mom, I was just looking up in the sky and blah, 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 blah. And she goes, oh my God, what happened? What happened? I went into the bedroom and I started to try and tell my wife, and I just burst into tears. I just burst into tears and dropped like on my knees and put my head on her lap, and she was just rubbing my head. And I was like crying like a baby, and she was like, "What happened? What happened?" And I told her what happened, and she goes, "And why are you so upset?" I said, "I'm not upset." I said, I said, why? I said, why? I'm literally a kid from the projects. I come from the most abusive home you can possibly imagine. My mother was a mental case. My father was a disaster. My sister was psychotic. I was trapped in this house. After my parents got divorced when I was 5 years old, I was trapped in this house. I would spend so much time just sitting in my room in the darkness or in the closet just by myself inside, so far deep in getting the hell away from this world and reality. And I grew up in Queens, New York in 1968 through the 70s and then the 80s and just so many things. And I just was like, why? And it's interesting, as a child, everybody used to say, what do you want to do when you grow up? And of course, I had that, I want to be an actor, I want to be a musician, I want to be a policeman, I want to be a fireman, when we're kids. But the one thing I always said, and if you ever speak to my friends, Craig, my oldest friend, I've known him for since I'm 2 years old, literally between 2 and 3 years old. I've known him for over 50 years. You can ask my mother, whatever, it doesn't matter. I used to say, I just want to speak to everybody. I would just want to talk to everybody on the planet. I just want to let them know that what we are, who we come from, and nobody understood what I was saying when I was a kid. I had no idea of the internet. I come from a time before there were beepers and pages and cell phones. It was rotary phones when I was a kid, literally rotary phones, and TVs with 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. Those are the channels. No cable, no video machines, no CD players. We had 8-track tapes, vinyl records, and then cassettes. I mean, anybody from back in that day knows what I'm talking about. So I had no idea that these abilities would be here, but I just knew what I was supposed to do. So after that event, it really took me a while. It kind of really shook me. It was after that, a little while after that, around December, I came into my cottage for 30 days. I wrote out about 55 questions. What we asked, the questions we asked most often every single day. Who are we? How do we get here? What's a universe? What is love? Will racism ever end? What's a black hole? What's deja vu? What are dreams? Are we supposed to eat meat? Everything. I asked every possible question that you can possibly think of. And 55 questions is a lot of questions. I sat here in this chair right here and for 30 days. And I would ask that question out, and I would just close my eyes and listen to the frequencies and just receive, and then let those form the words and translate in my mind. And I just wrote out the answers, and I would go to the next one. And that's what my first book is. That's what and you could read it for free. Just you click the link on my TikTok profile, sorry. And it's a Linktree link, and it'll say Book of New Light. You open that up, and the first link, the first picture, it'll be a picture of the book and some reviews and stuff of the book. And you scroll past that, because that's where you can purchase the paperback. If you scroll past that and go to the bottom, I uploaded the book to Google Drive. It's just completely a Google Drive PDF. No email addresses, no monies, no donations, nothing. You can just click the link and literally open the book and start reading it literally right now if you've had enough of listening to me. And I wrote the book, and I sat back and I read all the answers, and still today I read the book probably myself every 2 months. The first 100 copies that went out, I didn't even have my name printed on the book, because it just didn't feel right to have my name on the book, because it really, I only asked the questions. So it's 5 years later. And I've asked some very, very prominent spiritual teachers and spiritual figures, regular folks, priests, rabbis, and getting past, people getting past the concept, as I mentioned earlier, the inability to perceive and believe another person's truth, whether it's our culture, faith, or jealousy or bitterness that prevents us from opening up to the possibility of another person's truth. Every single person said the same thing, and it's what I knew it was that night. The two stars are Altair and Deneb. I've looked them up. You know, I know what they are. They're out there right now. It's cloudy tonight, but they're Altair and Deneb. They're really two stars. So it wasn't a drone. It wasn't a helicopter. I live in the Mesha-Masick State Forest in Connecticut, 10,000 acre state forest. There's no drones, nothing overhead. It was two stars, and every single one of these people, every single person said it was without a doubt a sign of divinity, of whatever you want to call that, the source, the divine light, the universe, the cosmos, the thing that we can't even comprehend, explain, letting you know to believe, to believe. You know, it was so funny. I grew up in such an insane environment. My father was a residual man who grew up in the Bronx in the 40s and 50s, and he was in the Navy, and he was an alcoholic. So that's the type of dude my dad was, that big, tough Bronx guy. My mom was a gift of life, an older couple, Irish Catholic family, and my father, my entire life, just completely belittling and demeaning a bully's bully. My father was the guy who would not only bully you, but he would bully the bullies, and he would smash their heads. And you know, that's the kind of guy he was. Um, uh, when my parents got divorced, I was left with my sister and my mother, and they were both very abusive, physically abusive, and my mother was a sexually and mentally abusive and physically abusive person. And because of the way my father was with my mother, you know, they hated men. So in the one breath, I was my mother's little Irish baby. Oh, my little Irish baby. And in the other breath, I was just like my father, and they hated men, you know. And we go through so much noise and shit in life. We live under the weight, under the pressure, suffocating, endless pressure of our parents' expectations, constantly bending to the will and perspective of teachers and parents, and being influenced by friends and girlfriends and boyfriends, and letting our entire being, everything about us, being molded into some man or some woman who's what? What? None of this matters. None of this matters. You know, redundantly, I say, we were born into a world created and controlled by somebody else so long ago. We had no say in this. Our parents had no say, our grandparents, and they were so dumb, so dumbed down, so naive, so disconnected that they had no idea of what we truly were. They were just drowned in these like organized religions and just governments and society and work, just becoming this industrialized thing, filling their lives with materialistic items, wood and plastic, denim, canvas, metal, just nothing. Working our whole lives, torturing our children through education, making them be able to grow up and go to work so they could do the same thing by a house and just fill it with infinite, endless amounts of bullshit. All along, we're sitting there miserable, and every moment we get a chance to start reflecting and feeling those emotions, we don't, because we consciously all of a sudden have time travel there, and we are living in them, and instantly we want to distract ourselves with the first stupid TV show, a joint, drugs, alcohol, sex, materialistic objects, and all these things. And we deny. We deny. We deny and deny and deny and deny and deny and deny, and we forget. And I just said to my oldest son, Kyle, about 3 weeks ago, we were in the car just talking, and I said, you know, man, the one thing about me, the one thing that I absolutely love, The one thing I love about myself is that I'm still that kid. I'm still that kid. All the jobs I've had, even being a father and a husband, I don't do this from a place of societal creation and parental expectation. I don't do this from a place of need and want to prove anything or to want to fill my house with things. I do this because I know without a doubt that we came from someplace else and we are something so far beyond human comprehension. And I know that we do most certainly go on to more than just this life. We are so powerful, and every single day we just wake up and believe and think we are human. Human in the limitations of what some man or woman has dictated with letters of what we are. We've literally let our entire existence be explained in a 26-letter alphabet. Think about that. And we are just the most mind-blowing, intricate thing that is a combination of biology and technology and chemistry and thought and imagination and dream and energy. Just this thing, this thing that found a way. It found a way after such an infinite, lonely time. It found a way to create. It found a way to create and make you and me. Not to pursue money, to outdo each other, to compete, to dominate, conquer, destroy, slaughter, to love each other, to be here with each other and smile with each other, to support and inspire each other, to protect each other. I swear to you, I swear to you, if there was a way, I would give my life right now for every single person to be able to know what it feels like to really feel who you are, what you are beyond this. We'll talk about this another time because after that event, after September 16th, after writing the book, I really spent a incredible great deal of time in stillness and silence and in darkness, literally sitting in the room with just headphones on to cancel out the noise, no light on, doing my third eye, you know, technique, hours and hours and hours, hours inside, and I can't even begin to tell you that every day I try to tell you, I try to find a way to tell you that everything you're looking for, every answer, every feeling, every dream, every desire, every bit of love you are looking for is in you. I had a moment. I'll tell you about this another time, but right here, right on this bed in this cottage, I was blessed to receive something from somebody that can transcend a person consciously. And I can't even tell you how grateful, how blown away, how just just so infinitely in awe and how grateful we are to be here. And I don't give a shit if you're an atheist, a Christian, a Catholic, a Muslim, a Jew. I don't give a shit if you're gay, straight, white, black. There is absolutely no difference. There is no difference to any of us behind that imaginary thought, that identity and label we have let been created. Look, close your eyes. Close your eyes while I can still talk for a minute. Close your eyes. Look, we close our eyes and we just disconnect the camera. That's all it is. Our bodies are just biological vehicles, organically evolutionary vehicles that are in sync with this planet so our energy can be here. Your eyes are just a camera. When you disconnect them, you can still see, you can still feel, you can sense, you can see words, you can see pictures. You can sit here and reflect on every moment of your life, every thought, every second. You could sit here and let all of those thoughts just go away and fall back into that silence, that absolute nothingness. And you realize when you reach this point of stillness and nothingness, you realize that is what we are. Somehow, beyond our consciousness, beyond our comprehension, nothingness, literal, true nothingness became aware, self-awareness, and through infinite time, it created you and me, everything. But that's what we are. That stillness beyond the thought, beyond the emotion, beyond the fear, beyond the joy, even beyond the observer. The moment we observe something, I see, I feel, I understand, we are still connected with I. But you are still that energy, no light, no language, just behind it. Open your eyes with me. I promise you. You are so much more than you could possibly ever imagine. And the way home, the way to that truth is by going inside, finding your way past the noise, the identity, the hurt, the pain, the joy, the want, the need. And in there, deep inside, deep inside, you will understand that that silence speaks. And it's who we really are, my friends. It's who you really are. I'm gonna go for now. I'm gonna enjoy the rest of this. I hope to hear from you soon. Please reach out, send a message anytime. Have a beautiful evening, my friends. Take care.